The Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return.
Hello, I'm Joni Siegel, the host of the Addiction Podcast. In 2022, over 100,000 people died from drug and alcohol abuse, and that number is growing daily. Fentanyl poisoning, pot, cocaine, heroin, and even psychedelics and alcohol all contribute to this crisis, while we're bombarded with promotions from thousands of rehabs. Newborns are born addicted, and the majority of homeless people struggle with drug addiction. Drug dealers exploit online resources to sell to teens, and antidepressant use is spiraling out of control. This podcast features brutally honest guest interviews revealing harsh realities and offering hope and solutions through their stories. We don't sugarcoat anything. Guests speak raw and real. More importantly, you'll find inspiration to understand, overcome, and achieve recovery, whether for yourself or to help others, some within your own family, many among your friends or associates. Whether you're seeking help or just a glimmer of hope, our podcast equips you with the latest insights to confront this generational battle. Many listeners tell us they want to join the fight, but do not have the time or money to act, lobby, or just help. If that's you, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and see how you can help. You are basically a celebrity, and I want to applaud you for being willing to tell your story, because I know there are a lot of people who have a celebrity status and they're not comfortable with telling their story. And I get it. I completely get it. Absolutely no judgment. But when someone such as yourself, with your level of celebrity, is willing to share their story, I cannot thank you enough. It's huge.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I still like that celebrity pill is hard for me to even swallow, but it's easier for me to swallow the addict pill than the celebrity pill. There it is, folks. But thank you so much. I'm going to rip this off from another podcast I did, but I'm recovering out loud. That's what this guy said. And I said, that's what I'm doing. I'm recovering out loud.
Hi, my name is Amy Newman, and my husband Bobby and I have a business called Newman Intervention Services. We provide intervention services for families who have loved ones struggling with drug addiction. Our goal is to help individuals get the support and treatment they need to overcome addiction and start on the path to recovery. With our personalized and compassionate approach, we guide families through the challenging process of getting their loved one into rehab and onto a road of a healthier future. Together, we can make a positive difference in the lives of those affected by drugs. If you or someone you know is in need of an intervention, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Let's work together and bring hope and healing to those battling addiction.
Call 866-989-4499 today and say the word podcast to get a 10% discount. Or go to newmaninterventions.com and type in the word podcast for a 10% discount. This service comes with a free 1-hour consultation with Bobby.
Not to be for the sake of being loud, but we know in recovery, one of the most amazing things that we have the opportunity to do is to help other people.
Yep.
And yes, it's self-serving. It's going to keep my butt sober as well. But let me tell you, it's like almost a new addiction. Affecting somebody in a positive way is like a high for me. It also triggers those dopamine, serotonin hits that our brain used to get when at the thought of drinking or at the thought of that hit of meth or, what it was, whatever your DOC, your drug of choice was. It's just transferring whack-a-mole to like another addiction. And it's higher than I ever could have gotten before is helping people.
I love that. And it's just a great message. Dedee, tell us just a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into acting? And then ultimately, how did you get into your addiction?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. I'm 58. I got sober 4+ years ago. So in my 50s, yes, I went to rehab going through menopause. Not sexy. I can tell you with a bunch of meth heads and crackheads and alcoholics and sex addicts. You name it, we were all in there together. And I love those people to this day.
Yeah.
They're my peeps, man. We all have a common denominator. We're trying to save our lives. Hello, right?
Yep.
So I a very modest, below like average upbringing in Orange County, not the rich area that Beverly Hills threw up all over, but like near Garbage Grove. That's where I was born. Almost pretty much under the freeway, very modest home life. My dad was a high functioning alcoholic. My mother had some mental issues, shock treatments in the late 50s. And then me and my younger sister. Kind of explains me. No. Yeah, I know that's what they did back then. They just shocked you until you didn't really feel that feeling anymore, which was, by the way, I did my research paper on it. It was postpartum, but they didn't know what that was back then. Anyways, so blue collar worker, if we didn't have it, we had to work for it. So I was out there like all the other kids, 60s, 70s, and mid 80s, working without a work permit, because if you wanted something, you earned it. So, but one thing I learned early on was love was sitting on my dad's lap in the front yard with Earl, them smoking cigarettes, and him drinking his tall boy Coors. And me sitting on his lap, dying for attention, and him getting me a sip of that beer. And when I would cringe, they would laugh. That was love. That was attention. Yep. Now that started it's biopsychosocial. That started the environmental issue. But then there's also alcoholism in my family, both sides of my family. In my family right now, I'm the only addict, between my brother, my two sisters, and my brother in this generation. But it runs all over. And also back in that day, drinking was like, of course your dad drinks. Look at your mom, stuff like that. And you go, oh, okay. I mean, you swallow that. Yep. So we know better now. So I had what I would say is a pretty average dysfunctional drinking habit in school. A drink till I blacked out. Other times could have one glass. I think the falsehood is that you have to be in the gutter, drunk off your ass to be an alcoholic. I wasn't. I was a high functioning alcoholic. I had children. I had a career. I'm sorry, my dog and cat are going at it. Guys, you're not invited to this podcast. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear them?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
We're really getting it. Okay. It's a zoo over here. So basically, it was, I was always hiding my drinking. I think you always know deep down inside that you're not a normie. A normie is you can leave a half a glass of wine on the table and walk away. Like, I don't understand that. How can you ever leave a half a glass of wine or any drink half full on the table? Like, that's what already there's something going on in there. The hiding of the behavior. So it's a high functioning, but slowly dying inside is what happened. And just people ask about my bottom, I say, which bottom? I had so many along the way. It was ridiculous. I kept trying to quit and I couldn't. Talk about feeling like a failure. The shame, I was riddled with shame and embarrassment. And because I could get A's in college, I could raise both my kids on my own. I could perform in TV and feature films, get roles and work with amazing people. And I couldn't do this other thing, which was just stop. So basically 4.5 years ago, my family came to me 4.5 years ago and was like, look, we'd like to do an intervention.
You are listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information on the podcast, or to reach out if you have a story you would like to share with us, go to our Facebook page by the same name, or you can email us at theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com, or go to our website, theaddictionpodcast.com. And please remember to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate you listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. We don't do this podcast because we are former addicts. We don't do this podcast because we have loved ones who have suffered from addiction. We do this podcast because we feel that addiction is one of the biggest problems facing the world today, and that no matter who you are, no matter your religion, no matter your income status, no matter your race, no matter anything about you, addiction affects you. This podcast is a free resource for anybody looking for help with addiction. If you would like to contribute to our podcast, go to www.patreon.com/theaddictionpodcast and make a donation of whatever amount you would like. Thank you for supporting us.
Something we never talked about my family with addiction. We never talked about that elephant in the room. We didn't talk about it with my dad, and we certainly didn't talk about it with me. People tried. And boy, I would bite their face off, and that was the end of that. So no one wants to lose that member, the family member, right?
Right.
So, what's weird is at that moment in time, and I don't know why, but I think the universe shifted. probably from the loss of my mom, my father, and a lot of loss in my life as well. I think my dad from the other side was helping me. I was ready because when they came to me and wanted to do an intervention, I said, you don't have to do that. Just tell me where to go. Just take care of my kids and my animals, and I'll do it. 2 days later, I was in rehab.
Wow.
But had they come to me any other time, I would have probably told them to F off, right?
But you had lost your parents recently, so you kind of had
mom about a year before that, my dad way before that.
Okay.
I lost other people, best friends to AIDS back in the day. I mean, and my Rottweiler is 100 pounds in my arm, just like a lot of loss.
Yep.
Also, honestly, when you're carrying that addiction on your back, it's a lot. It's exhausting to try to hide. It is exhausting to try to pretend that you don't have a problem.
Yep.
I think I just got exhausted because I started looking at 800 numbers on the TV, but I just couldn't find the courage to call because Dedee Pfeiffer. I mean, right? I'm Michelle Pfeiffer's sister, David Kelly's sister-in-law, blah, blah, blah. You know,
Yep.
And what do you do with your kids?
Yep.
Because I couldn't even say the words alcoholic. They would say it and I'd get angry, but I hadn't come full circle. And so I was extremely lucky that I was exhausted enough to say, yeah, let's go. And then that's what landed me in an intensive 30-a-day rehab where
Wow.
changed my life.
Hardest thing to do is ask for help. Hardest thing to do.
Which is why I'm out loud with my addiction, because I
Yes.
want people to know I understand that shame. I understand laying in bed going, why can't I just ask for help? Because
Yep.
the shame is unbelievable. Anybody who is in recovery and will tell you that shame kneecaps you. So I want to say, I get it, but it's okay, because as much as it's going to hurt to ask, oh my God, it's not going to be as bad as what you're doing right now.
That's
and
right.
now you're the identified problem.
Yep.
And the minute you decide that you want to change, you become the identified possibility.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is exciting, man. There's no
Yep.
stopping with that.
And I think the other thing is so often, and it doesn't sound like it in your case, because you had family members who did the intervention, but a lot of times family members go, why can't she just stop? I don't understand it. And it's like, addiction, physical, mental, spiritual, it's not a joke. It's not just something where you wake up in the morning and go, oh yeah, okay, I'm not going to drink today. Because then those cravings start up and you're on a roll.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's very simple. It's very simple. People think it's a choice. That's it. Because if it was a choice, you would stop. Trust me, we would all stop. None of us like to be in that state. Wherever you are, high functioning or in the gutter, it's irrelevant. You would love to stop if you could. Like you would also like to stop your cancer from growing in your body, but that is also a disease. No one
Yep.
wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to be an addict. That sounds like a good idea. Any more than they say, hey, I want to wake up with cancer. But And
Exactly.
both need to be treated, and both will take you out and take
Yep.
you to the light too soon if not addressed.
Well,
But
and even if we could honestly say it maybe started with a choice, once the addict hits, there ain't no choice anymore.
yeah, there you go. That's the whole thing. When you're kids, you drink. Okay, like my boys, I'm like, hey, listen, I know you're going to drink, but just don't be stupid. Uber, I'll come pick you up, whatever. And by the way, if you ever find yourself in a problem situation where you feel like something's going awry, I'm here as a soft landing. You saw your mom in my addiction, active in my addiction. Now you see what recovery looks like. I'm a soft landing for you. I can't live their journey for them. I can't prevent them from inevitable, but I can just show them what it looks like every day. As I'm hoping one person today watches this and goes, oh shit, that's what sobriety looks like? It can. And trust me, I look at pictures of me before. You could see inside I was slowly dying.
Yep.
And now it's a rebirth in my 50s, almost 60s, and it's a rebirth. That's what recovery can look like. Yeah.
And I will tell you, honey, that recovery looks really good on you.
Thank you. That a little filter. Okay, a lot of filters. And I'm telling you, just red lips, little fake hair,
Yep.
hey, Botox. Just do it.
I said it before. I just appreciate so much you being willing, to come out, if you will, with your recovery, because there's still so much stigma attached to addiction, whether it's drugs or alcohol. There's so much stigma and people want to hide it and they don't want anybody to know. And pretty much everybody that I've talked to, they say, but talking about it is what helps, is therapeutic,
I completely agree, because one of my sober friends is in nursing school and they test them every month. And she got a positive test. They immediately sent her an email with this big red letter saying, you tested positive for drugs. You are now temporarily whatever from the nursing program. All this horrendous stuff that got her heart going. And I was like, how sad.
Yeah.
default was to assume that you were doing drugs. Of course they went in, and it was some medicine that she's on for her bipolar. Okay, that triggered that, but they immediately went to illegal drugs, and she's busting her butts being sober every day. 4 years with me because she was my sober sister in rehab, and she's in this nursing program because she wants to help people on a larger level like me. And this system has stigma embedded in it. I said, why didn't they immediately go to, oh, interesting, something triggered your test. Can we do a little investigative, reporting and questions before you immediately assume that she's, doing drugs. I was like, oh, wow, we still got it embedded in our systems too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we had a woman on the podcast who had applied. She'd gone through recovery. She'd actually gone through prison, and she was clean and sober. And she had applied for a job in a major software company. And when they found out about her history, they wouldn't hire her. And so she went to an attorney and actually got them to hire her. And now one of her whole games, if you will, in life is to go around and talk to corporations and go, yo, you can hire these people. It's a good thing, But it's that same thing. It's that stigma,
It is. It's like, it's like still punishing you for something you once was.
Right.
And what's the point of getting sober or getting your shit together or getting your life on track if society is still going to say, sorry, you messed up a long time ago. And by the way, when people are active in their disease, we're not behaving even near our authentic self. So when you're hiring somebody in recovery, you're actually hiring somebody in their authentic self, because that's what we have to do to stay sober or not use your drug of choice every day. Is constantly peeling that onion, leaning into things that are uncomfortable, watching for pre-lapse signs, when your addict is doing push-ups, and also giving back. What an amazing employee. And like you said, we still have that, if you're in jail, you take your time, you cleaned up.
Yep.
That's rewarded.
Yep. Exactly. Well, and since you've been in recovery, is that since you got onto Big Sky on that series?
No, actually, Big Sky came as a result of my getting sober because, we're all energy,
yep.
And if I walk into this room and I'm just like nasty, I can change the energy in this room in a minute.
Yep.
If I come in with light, I change the energy that way. So when I got sober, my family sat back and watched me busting my ass. My children, my friends were watching me every single day. I took a year off of college. I had 1 year left of college, and it was a 10-year journey. And I took a year off to get sober, and I didn't know how I was gonna pay my bills. I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I knew that if I didn't figure out how to find my sober legs, I wasn't gonna survive. In that process of that year sobriety, I went to AA every day. I had to change the word God into Mother Earth, because, not like a lot of people, the God thing, my God's a group of drunks. Okay,
There
God, group of drunks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wear my sobriety like a warm robe versus a tight corset. It's all good as long as you don't use today. I don't care how you do it, right?
Right.
So I was doing that, trying to finish my last year. I was interning at the Department of Mental Health. The 2 years before that, I was in the field with the homeless population, working with multidisciplinary group, working on my social worker degree, and just really trying to put one foot forward and raise my boys and stay sober and try to figure out what that looked like. And I was afraid, am I ever gonna be funny again? Am I ever gonna be creative again? Am I ever gonna feel love again? Who's gonna wanna date me because I can't have a glass of wine? Oh my God, I've gained all this weight. Look in the mirror. It's like all this stuff. But I just slowly took it day by day for an entire year, went back to finish my master's, and my brother-in-law out of nowhere texted me, hey, Dee, you still acting? I got this role named Denise in this thing called Big Sky I'm doing. And I was like, yes. And I think I did drop my phone. And my sister, I said, David, I think, and at first I didn't know he had my number. I mean, listen, we love each other. We hang out. We're a great family, but we don't talk shop. We just, David, we talk fishing, because he's like this crazy fisherman, like really, really amazing fisherman. So we talked that, we never talked shop. So this was a first. I was floored. It reminded me of what they used to say to me, in the beginning of sobriety, when they said the possibilities are endless. And you won't even see them coming if you just continue on the path of discovering that authentic self and do the right thing and help other people. And I just kept doing that. Blindly, I trusted the process, which that I couldn't see. Faith works best in the dark. I used to hate that. I'm like, I need to touch it and feel it. They're like, sorry, You just have to trust the process and look at people like you, who are further along, who can show you what it looks like. And I did that, and this came, and boy, I thought, wow, talk about being thrown a lifeline, because I wanted to somehow help people on a larger scale.
Yep.
And I didn't know how I was going to do that. Getting on Big Sky, bam, did that. Because look, I'm here, I'm on the show with you. You're
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it all just is so beautiful.
I applaud you for your sobriety. I applaud you. I know from everybody that we have talked to, and I don't have my own history of addiction, but I have a passion about it because it affects way too many people. And I can't sit back and go, hey, nothing to do with me. So I applaud you for your 4+ years of sobriety, and I applaud you. And I also applaud everything you're doing to give back. Just out of curiosity, Dedee, so now you're back on a television set.
Yeah.
Sober.
Yeah.
What was it like? Did it feel like really different, better? Was it a bit of a challenge? I'm just curious.
All of those.
Okay.
Certainly different. It was certainly well, when we went back, it was COVID.
That's right. Yep.
We were in New Mexico. We had done one half day, and then bam, everyone went home and the whole country shut down. We didn't know if we were ever going to come back or what. Like the whole country, we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So months and months later, because Canada had their shit together with the pandemic and we didn't at that time, they took the production to Canada and we filmed up there. So first of all, you have the weirdness of not being with the crew. We had groups, A group, B, C. We never saw each other. It was like when we walked into the set, everybody had to clear out because we were the A group in front of the camera without masks, but although we had to have masks. It was the weirdest thing to just film with the pandemic. But then you throw in there, for me, everyone else was doing happy hour afterwards, although actually that was closed too. Happy hour via Zoom.
Right.
We couldn't even be in person, right? Think about it, everyone was shut down. Yeah. So they were doing happy hour Zooms, and I was like, I tried doing one with a Coke and it just didn't feel right. So it was weird. It was awkward. Again, I had to just remember that these are those bumps in the road. These are those challenges. And at the end of the day, I could absolutely have a drink with these people. There's no law saying I can't. But I will literally lose everything that I had gotten at that moment. And then I have to ask myself, is it really that important to take that drink? And then I politely excuse myself from the Zoom. And then I call somebody who I go, okay, that was really hard. And they're like, right? Oh my God, I went to my family's last night and they were all drinking. I had to leave too. Somebody understood me. Thank you. And they're not an asshole. I'm not an asshole. We just kind of had to. Until you discover your sober legs is what I call it. You do kind of have to sometimes remove yourself from situations.
Oh yeah.
And that's okay. It's kind of like, I don't know, not going to a goddamn candy store when you're in the beginning of a diet.
Yeah.
Months into it, you can go in there, right, and be like, hey, I'm not going to eat that Bordeaux at C's. First day of diet is don't put me in C's because I'm just pounding chocolate like an idiot,
It's like drive on by Baskin Robbins, not stopping there.
I'll talk for that. One will make my butt big. The other one, I'll lose everything. I'd rather deal with the cushy butt. That's in fashion anyways right now, isn't it?
Well, I think that, I really do applaud you once again for being clean and sober, because you had to go back almost into the same environment that you lived through, not clean and sober, and live that way again. And a lot of times when we talk to people in recovery, for them, they have to get completely out of the environment and go off and do something completely new. But here you are, you're kind of back in that environment, albeit changed with the whole pandemic thing going on. But I think, to me, that makes you even more of a rock star than you already are.
Thank you. Oh my God, you're so sweet. Thank you. When this podcast ends, I've got teenagers who just ignore me on there. So I'm all the love I can right now. So thank you for that, because it's interesting. I missed that element of the bonding, the drinking and all that. But I've discovered a different way to bond, right? It's almost like everything has to be a little different, right? So each individual cast member I get to know, I just try to bond with them on different levels and do different things. Like this, we're in New Mexico, so I'm trying to get a bunch of us together to go and some aliens and stuff, right? I think like that's crazy as hell, but super fun. Hey, Reba McIntyre and Catherine and Jamie Lynn, I have a whole bunch who were like, I'm going with you. I'm like, let's go find aliens, you know? I'm not gonna do at night, but on a Sunday, let's go find aliens, right? I have to shift it around a little bit, but it is different. It is hard. But here's something else that's really cool. Well, I'm kind of like that person. Hey, Dedee Pfeiffer, how you doing, guys? What's going on today? And when I step on the set, and by the way, I'm in recovery. And they're like, wow, that was just like a lot of information. Why would you throw that out? They'll tell you why. Later on, the director or a producer or an actor will come up and go, hey, Dedee, I'm sober too, 15 years. And I'll go, hey, why are you whispering? Because that's amazing.
That's what I mean. That's the recovery out loud. That's what's important.
I didn't want anyone else to know. I'm like, oh, why are we whispering? 15 years, that's huge.
Yeah.
And tendency was to be like, hey, Dedee, you know? So I'm like, first of all, you inspire me, you know, because I'm a newbie at this. But in second, think about it. Why are you whispering? That's something to cheer loud and proud. But if you don't want to recover out loud, that's okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. And they do walk away going, shit, I didn't even think about why I do that.
Yep. Yep. But that's what I mean when I say no judgment. If people don't want to talk about it, but huge accolades for people like you who are willing to throw it out there and bring it up, because
a lot about how the tendency 99.9% of the time people come up to me and they're whispering, telling me that they're one of me. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad that your tendency is to give in to that stigma because you're ashamed of something that's so amazing. Because I'm telling you right now, getting sober is not for pussies. I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's
no.
not.
No.
It is not. And I don't know any other group other than people who are really trying to survive a disease, their life, who are doing something so monumental as try to save their own lives and give back at the same time and be good people. Listen, being a dry drunk is always an option. And that makes me sad. Because I'm like, if you're going to be a dry drunk, just go drink. Because come on, man. You're kind of making me look bad. People like me not want to get sober. When I saw you, I'm like, well, look at that jackass. He ain't drinking and he's just nasty. You know what I mean? But it's so the people that I saw who, and by the way, I apologize for assuming that you were sober. I didn't.
It's okay.
But well, you were cool, so I figured you wouldn't meet. But plus, actually, it says a lot about you that you're not sober and you're doing this podcast. To me, that is a beautiful thing, that you're in there trying to help us out, recover out loud, and you're not even one of us. That's so beautiful, man. That's compassion right there. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, we are passionate about this situation. And when we are introduced to somebody like you, I'm gaga. I have chills because I just think that you are a rock star in your recovery there.
Thank you. Well, I do have my ball of beads on. I'm doing like a little, yeah. I said, I'm not out today. Some days, girls, not. Yeah. Some days it ain't happening. Today I woke up going, I'm going to get on this podcast and rock it.
I do understand. That happens with me too. And I'm not in recovery. So there you go. Yeah. So are you still working with the County of Los Angeles? What else are you doing in terms of your life besides Big Sky?
Yeah, what happened was it was such a weird turn of events. I graduated in 2020 online because of the pandemic. I was in the middle of my internship when they just said, boom, you're done. Like we were pulled out of the field. UCLA and all of the universities pulled us, all the interns out, and they closed down all one-on-one because of the pandemic. They just didn't, and it was super sad. So I finished out my master's online, which was odd. And the rest of the internship was like just writing stuff up. It was really sad because there's nothing like being in the field with the population which you want to work with and help.
Yep.
But like I said, when I was finishing my master's during the pandemic in New Mexico and then Canada, doing Big Sky, I was doing all of that. So by the time I graduated, the show was running already. I mean, we were up in where were we? Canada the first year. Yep. So I was stuck behind borders up there. And there was a lot of homelessness up there and people with mental illness and addiction that I wanted to reach out and help when I wasn't working on Big Sky. But because of COVID, it was a dangerous thing because if I got COVID, I can't, at that point, you couldn't work for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I could cripple the production.
Yeah.
So we literally just stayed in our the ones who had, I stayed in my hotel room. Me and all the seagulls on the balcony. We got to know the seagulls. Canadian seagulls and and the pigeons, the neighbors didn't like me because I fed them, but whatever. But yeah, I was very isolated for the most part. So I wasn't able to get in the field. Now it's a little better, but it's the same situation. Like I'm in LA right now. If I get COVID, then I think it's 5 days down.
Yep.
So I'm trying the best I can to help all those populations in any way that I can. That's not necessarily physical, hands-on.
Yep.
One day I would like to have my own show like you have and help people that way. And
awesome.
Go out in the field and talk to people one-on-one and get that on.
I think that would be huge. Absolutely huge. And I think it would be a very needed and wanted. So you have our backup if we can help you with that. You just need to let us know because
on my show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dedee, thank you for talking to us today. Any just final wonderful words? You're so upbeat and so positive and so delightful. Any last words to give our audience?
Wow. I think, God, there's so many beautiful things that have been said to me through the years. I think probably that when we use fear to make our decisions, there's a lot of fear around getting sober or fear around not using your drug of choice. And I say drug loosely, it could be gambling, sex, or what have you, right? When you're looking at it with fear, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to be everything that you can be in life, and as afraid as you are to make that change, it's not going to be as bad as you think, I promise. Because I'm like an old dinosaur. I mean, my dad named me Hardhead, Dedee, you hardhead, for a reason. So like, if I can do it, my thing is just try it, right? Just try it. You can always go back, but it's not, the waters are okay over here. Recovery can be really sexy, really fun. And there's some amazing people who are out there that will support you, who don't even know you, and they will support you, like me.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and it's totally fine if you say no, but if someone wanted to get into recovery and maybe they just wanted to reach out to you, would you welcome something like that?
Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, I have a lot of people who talk about stuff. I mean, I don't do like clinical one-on-one with anybody on my Instagram because I don't think that's really appropriate nor the place.
Right.
But like people will say things on my Instagram because my Instagram is really like about being positive, and I do Dedee random thoughts, which are really random, like really random. But they generally revolve around, I don't know, things that get you thinking or get the serotonin, dopamine bursts, or your heart warmers or something. How
do they find you on Instagram?
Dedee Pfeiffer Official. But what I'll do is I'll probably just shoot you to the rehab that I went to, which is really fantastic. And they do fly people in from other states, this rehab, your insurance. Yeah. Okay. So, or if you're in Tennessee, you are really lucky because Kathleen Murphy, who's the one who really, I have to give almost all the credit for my recovery, is now practicing in Tennessee. Kathleen Murphy.
Awesome.
Amazing woman, because she does trauma and addiction. And they like to tango, by the way.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
Trauma and addiction just love each other. So they do need to be teased out and treated differently.
Right. Dedee, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for talking to us today.
Thank you, Joni, for having me.
Absolutely. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Dedee is just absolutely delightful. And she is someone who is embracing her recovery out loud in a big way, but with joy, so much joy in her life. And it's so lovely to see. And you got to hand it to her. So thank you for listening. We will be back again next week. And we are in the thick of the holidays. So please, please, please don't wait until the new year to get into treatment. There's so much scariness out there with fentanyl and overdoses and what have you. Just get treatment now. It'll be worth it. And then you will have all of the holidays for the rest of your life to enjoy. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week.
You have been listening to the Addiction Podcast, Point of No Return. For more information, reach out to us on Facebook or go to www.theaddictionpodcast.com. Our email is theaddictionpodcast@yahoo.com.